Patita Pavan Prabhu asked me, Prabhu, why don't you invite Radhanath Swami Maharaj and Shivram Maharaj? They are attending the Sadhu Sangha. So just 10-15 minutes ago, I have sent WhatsApp message to both Maharaj inviting if they can accept our heartfelt invitation. So let's see. Both this verse and the next are quite interesting in the sense that they deal with the psychology of anartha or impurities within the heart. We will see how exact a science bhakti is that it purifies these things from within. In this and the next verse, Raghunath Das Goswami will be using very graphic, strong language. This is called contrast. On one side, you have been burnt by bathing in the trickling urine of an ass, a donkey, and on the other side is bathing in the nectarian ocean of love for Radha and Krishna. Generally, such strong language is used in order to make a point, and specifically to make a point to people who don't understand a message in more subtle ways. So this contrast is for us because we are infected by different gross impurities. And the result of these gross impurities is that we become covered by ignorance. In order to penetrate this ignorance, strong language is used. Just like when the child is playing, you tell him, quote, stop playing, unquote. If he won't listen because he is so absorbed, ultimately you have to raise your voice and then it pierces through the child's ignorance. In the same way, Raghunath Das Goswami starts to pierce through our ignorance by using some strong and graphic language. It's effective because it's soothing that we don't forget once we hear it. Haribol. Shrutadhar, huh? Quote, why do you burn yourself and me, the soul, by bathing in the trickling urine of the great donkey of full-blown hypocrisy and duplicity? So you can just imagine a huge ass and we take a bath in his trickling urine. Furthermore, he said it burns. This is the nature of urine. It is acidic. So we will address this thing specifically later. I think sometime I remember that when we were really young and if you hurt yourself, we used to put the urine on it on the new wound and it will heal quickly. I don't know. We used to do. In verse 5, we discuss Kamadi. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, Prakamam Kamadi Prakatapath Pati Vyakti Karat. That along with lust comes a host of other unwanted characteristics. So these things need to be purified. Lust, anger, greed, madness and illusion and envy. But everyone has experienced that we do try to purify ourselves of unwanted habits. And it's not so simple to remove them. Like if you have some dirt on the floor and you sweep it up and you throw it out and it's gone. But our unwanted habits are not such an easy thing to dispose of. So the question arises in this verse. Let's say I have subdued lust and anger, but what about deceit? It still remains. In other words, we are seemingly unable to get rid of all these characteristics. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained there are two alternatives of this particular point. Listen attentively, I may ask you later on. The first is you become a deceitful devotee. That's one natural consequence, which means you don't purify the deceit, but you let the deceit intermingle with your so-called devotional service. Then while it's creating havoc to your devotional creeper, you are called a deceitful devotee. And when the damage is finally done, then you will no longer be a devotee. This is the first alternative. The second alternative is you purify yourself of this deceit. This deceit is generally being described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a desire other than the desire to serve Krishna, which means, practically speaking, it's a carpet and you can sweep any material thing under this label of deceit. Any desire other than the desire to serve Krishna, or having a purpose for serving other than pleasing Krishna, falls under the category of deceitfulness. Haribol. So two specific characteristics of deceits are being mentioned here, kapat and kutinati. Kapat means deviousness and kutinati is hypocrisy. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, these things are also described. Hypocrisy manifests in the form of diplomacy, mercilessness, and meeting to gossip with others and criticize someone. All these forms fall under this realm of hypocrisy. Because hypocrisy means that I pretend that I am doing one thing or I am on way with people, but I think a completely different way about them. In other words, I behave to their face in one way, but behind their back, I do something completely different. Have you seen like that? Not yet? Haribol. Maybe you are in a good association, I guess. So this is a very nice instructions. Now we will dwell on Srila Prabhupada life. And I have something to say about Tukaram's life also, that I dwell a little bit more in his life yesterday. Whoever can stay. So I'll read just 3 lines to bring up to the speed to our mind, and then we will continue. The devotees agreed that only Kirtananda and Upendra would stay and serve Swamiji. They wanted Swamiji's stay to be peaceful so that his health could improve. We will continue now. That night, Srila Prabhupada felt pain in his heart and couldn't sleep at all. And he didn't rise early for translating. At 5 a.m., Kirtananda came in and opened the window slightly so that Prabhupada could receive the soft ocean breeze. Prabhupada sat up in his bed chanting his japa and gazing at the feet of Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani. A mountain range to the east blocked the morning sun. Dot and mid, what is this on the screen? Haribol. Ever since Prabhupada's stroke, Kirtananda had been regularly massaging Prabhupada morning and in evening. Kirtananda would rub Prabhupada's head vigorously and then sit behind him and massage his back. Next, he would massage Prabhupada's chest, his arms, and his legs. The complete massage lasting some time more than an hour. That's perfectly perfect, because I always take about hour and a 5 to 10 minutes to give full massage. But my sequence is little different than what is described here. Since leaving the hospital, Prabhupada had also been taking daily morning walks, even while on the Lower East Side. And this morning he went down for a walk on the beach, accompanied by Kirtananda and Upendra. I remember Bhakti Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj, when he came with the Manipur trip to Houston. Maharaj was very fond because whoever has saw Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, clean air you can find near the ocean. So Bhakti Swarup Damodar was asking me, is there any ocean nearby? And I said, well, we have the Gulf of Mexico. At least we should go there. So I used to take him morning to Galveston to walk with Maharaj. It was a nice experience. As Prabhupada walked on the beach, he pointed his cane towards some bubbles in the sand. Just see, he said. There are living entities everywhere. There is no place without living entities. And yet, they say there is no life on the moon. Very good. The beach was rocky, and there were cliffs where the waves crashed powerfully like thunder. Quote, you hear this sound? Unquote. Srila Prabhupada asked. Quote, this is an echo of gopis' heartbeats when they are feeling separation from Krishna. Unquote. What a vision of this transcendentalist, right? He walked for an hour until his two young servants were both tired. Quote, do I tire you walking? And he laughed. Quote, this walking and massaging are saving my life from day to day, unquote. Then he continued walking. By 11 o'clock, the sun finally appeared over the mountains and through the clouds. Srila Prabhupada, his head wrapped with a towel, sat in a folding chair on the beach, taking in the sunshine. He kept saying he needed more sun. After lunch, the sky was again overcast. In the evening, Prabhupada called Kirtananda and Upendra into the large living room and led them in a subdued kirtan, singing Hare Krishna and Govinda Jaya Jaya. He stood and led them in a large circle around the room. He would stop before the picture of Krishna, bow slightly with folded palms, turn around, and then continue in the circle. So when we dance in the temple room, when we face Prabhupada deity or the Krishna deity, we should turn one time to respect them, show them their respect. On July 8, after Prabhupada had been at Paradiso for 2 days, Shyam Sundar and Mukunda drove up from San Francisco. The next day was to be Rath Yatra, and Shyam Sundar and Mukunda, the first devotees to visit Prabhupada since his arrival at Stinson Beach, told Prabhupada all about the festival preparation. Of course, the whole festival had been Prabhupada's idea, but the devotees in San Francisco were trying to do exactly as he had asked. Srila Prabhupada had first gotten the idea for the festival while looking out the window of his room above Frederick Street. Noticing flatbed trucks passing below, he thought of putting Jagannath deities on the back of such truck and conducting an American-style Rath Yatra festival. He had even sketched a truck with a 4-pillar canopy on the back and decorated with flags, bells, and flower garlands. And he had called in Shyam Sundar, quote, "Make me this cart for Rath Yatra," unquote. Now, ready and sitting outside the temple on Frederick Street was the cart, a yellow Hertz rental truck, compliments of the diggers and complete with 5-foot columns and a pyramidal cloth canopy. Sitting with Prabhupada on the beach, Mukunda told how all the devotees were working with great enthusiasm and how the hippies in Haight-Ashbury were talking about the Jagannath parade that would take place the next day. The devotees had tried to route the parade through Golden Gate Park, but the police department would only give permission for them to go south down Frederick Street to the sea. Mukunda said the devotees planned to have Jagannath under the canopy, facing the right side of the truck, Subhadra facing the rear, and Balram facing the left side. He wanted to know if that was all right. Actually, Prabhupada said the deities should ride in a separate carts, pulled with ropes by the crowd through the street. Maybe that could happen in future years. Quote, "Do it nicely," he cautioned them, Quote, "and don't hurry it up." See, Kishore Krishna Prabhu. The devotees should drive the truck slowly through the street down to the beach, and there should be constant kirtan. Mukunda and Shyam Sundar glorified Jayananda. He drove all around San Francisco, getting donation of fruits and flowers, found people to help decorate the cart, installed the sound system on the truck, and distributed posters in the stores. He was tireless, and his enthusiasm was inspiring everyone else to take part. The woman had been cooking chapatis all day long, so there should be thousands to give away to the crowd. The devotees has prepared hundreds of Hare Krishna Rath Yatra festival balloons to release on the street as the parade began. When the devotees asked what else they should do, Prabhupada said that this was all a procession, prasadam distribution and kirtan. The people should get a chance to see Lord Jagannath and chant Hare Krishna. There should be chanting and dancing in front of the cart throughout the procession. Good. But do everything nicely. All these services must be done with nice details. Prabhupada said, do it as well as you can, and Lord Jagannath will be satisfied. The next day, in the quiet afternoon, Prabhupada was sitting in the living room, chanting on his beads. Upendra was with him, and Kirtananda was in the kitchen cooking a feast. Suddenly Prabhupada heard the familiar ringing of kartals, and he became very happy, his eyes widening. Looking outside, he saw the Rath Yatra truck with Lord Jagannath, Subhadra and Balram, and dozens of devotees and hippies eager to see him. He went out to greet them and had them bring the deities inside and set them on the top of the upright piano. Devotees and guests followed, filling the large living room. Smiling, Prabhupada embraced some of the men while others made obeisances at his feet. Some devotees helped Kirtananda in the kitchen get ready to distribute the large feast he had prepared. Others reported on the success of the Rath Yatra festival. It was great. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful day, they said, and Prabhupada listened, moved by his disciple descriptions of the celebration. Many hippies had joined the large procession. Mukunda, Haridas, Hayagriva, and some of the women had been on the cart, and the instruments, including Yamuna's playing on the harmonium, had all been amplified. Everyone in the street had liked it. The police motor escort had tried to bury the devotees, but so many people had crowded in front that the parade had been obliged to go slowly, just as Swamiji has asked. Subal had danced wildly the whole time, and Jayananda had been jumping up and down, playing kartal. From the truck, some of the women had handed out cut oranges, apples, and bananas, and the others had thrown flowers. The crowd had loved it. Shyam Sundar told how they had been going up a steep hill. Shyam Sundar had been driving with his dog Ralph beside him on the front seat. When the truck had stalled, he had tried to start the engine but couldn't. Then the brakes wouldn't hold. The truck began rolling backward downhill. Finally, he had managed to stop. But when he had tried to go forward, the engine had stalled and the truck had rolled backwards again. He would get it started, the truck would go forward, then stop, then roll backwards. Everyone had been in anxiety. At last, the truck had started forward and the procession had continued all the way to the beach. Srila Prabhupada smiled. It was a pastime of Lord Jagannath, he said. The same thing had happened when Lord Chaitanya had attended Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. Then also the cart had gotten stuck and no one had been able to move it. The king of Orissa had brought forward the most powerful wrestlers to push the cart and pull on the ropes, but it wouldn't go. Even the elephants couldn't move it. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had then put his head against the cart and pushed, and only then did the cart begin to move. Now Rath Yatra had come to the west, and with it this pastime of Lord Jagannath. Prabhupada noticed some devotees were missing. Where are Yamuna and Janki? He asked. The devotees told him that some hippies had handed out candy spiked with LSD, and that a few of the devotees had unwillingly accepted it and were just now recovering. So Subal related how after the festival they had traveled out on the freeway in their flower bed decked canopy covered truck carrying 30 devotees and the deities of Jagannath, Subhadra and Balram. They had driven up through the mountains in what must have been one of the most unusual vehicles ever seen. After all the visitors departed, the devotees remained in the house with Prabhupada and his servants. Prabhupada felt satisfied that his disciple has successfully held a Rath Yatra festival. Although untrained, they were sincere. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhakti Vinod Thakur would have been pleased to see the first American Rath Yatra. The whole world was in anxiety. Prabhupada explained to the devotees gathered in his room that evening. Only in the spiritual world was there freedom from anxiety. Becoming free from all anxiety and returning to the spiritual world was the purpose of Krishna consciousness. And festival like Rath Yatra made people Krishna conscious. Prabhupada had many ideas for festivals. If he had the money and the manpower, he said, he could have a festival every single day. There was no limit to Krishna consciousness. This Rath Yatra festival was another sign of a good reception for Krishna consciousness in the West. So he wrote Brahmananda in New York as follows. The house is situated in an exceptionally nice spot, and the house itself is aristocratic. So there is nothing to complain about the house and place. The only difficulty is that I cannot go to the temple on account of zigzag course of the road and crossing the mountains. Anyway, the devotees are coming here, and the Rath Yatra festival was just performed with great pomp. More than 500 people follow the processions to the beach, and there were about 24 cars. They distributed thousands of chapatis, and at last, Sri Jagannath, Subhadra and Baldev kindly came here in our house and will stay here for 1 week, and then they will return. So I think there is a different topic, so we should stop here. And before the devotees leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the desk of these wonderful devotees, that they take austerity to get up early in the morning and give their kind association. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kipashindu bhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So anybody has any question, comment, correction or chastisement, Okay, that's norm, huh? That nobody says anything. I don't know how many are listening even, right? Who knows? Anyway, I think the devotee says that when I read something, they would like to know about the life of Tukaram. So I was dwelling to read. I started again reading from the first. So more time we read, we will grasp more details. This is how I'm very dumb person. I have to read at least 30 times to get the point in my mind. So whatever I said yesterday, I will not repeat, but I will go a little further. That Tukaram's eighth great 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 grandfather name was Vishwambar, and he was very dedicated to service Radha and Krishna. In their whole family, everybody was lover of Krishna. So it was very easy for all the family members to render service and remain engaged in the devotional practice. So many of us are not that fortunate. Some families that they can get the support from their partner even, right? So Krishna missed